Welcome everybody to the Rejuvenate Health and Fitness Test Kitchen again for episode number 2. We're going to make raw chocolate crackles today using the ingredients that we've got in front of me here. We have our cacao powder, which is known for its antioxidant, zinc, iron and magnesium levels, quite high in all of those. We've got 1 cup of cacao powder. We have half a block, which is 125 grams of cacao fat. We're also going to use a quarter of this jar of coconut fat. So in this jar we have 500 mils, so 125 mils of coconut fat. We have half a cup of agave syrup, which this is the bottle over here. It's a much lower GI version of sugar, I guess. It tastes a lot like a maple syrup. And we're also going to use for the crackly part, instead of the old-fashioned rice bubbles, we're going to be using organic puffed kamut flakes, which are a wheat, an ancient grain, but they're very good for you compared to normal wheat. Let's get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to get that half a block of cacao, 125 grams, and place it into a bain-marie, which is basically a pot of water. And on top of that we've got a bowl, which is actually not touching the pot. I'm not going to touch that because it's quite hot. Not touching the water underneath it, and it's just heating up the pot, so it's a very light, gentle way of heating up and melting that fat. We're then going to grab the coconut oil, which is already in a liquid form because it's quite warm at the moment, and we're just going to pour in a quarter jar of that. As easy as that. All we're going to do from that is give that a light stir every now and then. If you'd like to come in and see what it looks like inside. Just going to give it a bit of a stir and then make sure this block melts right down. We don't want to heat on too much, so you probably want it about a third of the full dial. And wait till that boils down and we'll come back to the next part. Okay, so we have the finished product of all the melted down fats, the cacao and the coconut. If you want to quickly just pop in and have a look at that. So you don't want it too hot, you should be able to put your finger in it quite comfortably without it being too hot. You don't want to overheat it, otherwise it might kill the nutrients. So what we're going to do from here is grab our half cup of agave syrup and drop that in. Give it a bit of a shake and just dump that into the sink. Give that a stir through, obviously that's going to help sweeten our chocolate base. From here we're going to get our 1 full cup of cacao powder and drop all that in. And I'll just give that a mix up through, make sure that all the lumps are out of it. It's pretty easy to get through, you can use a whisk if you like. Just give that a nice mix, make sure all the powder's off the side, you don't want any powder inside of your crackles because it's quite bitter on its own. You can make sure it binds with all the butter and sugars. Nice mix up. The final part, what we're going to do is get our kamut grains, puffed kamut, and drop them in. I'm going to start off with a third of a bag. Let's see how that looks. Okay, still got some liquid in there, so we're going to pump in a bit more. We've got 2/3 of a bag, there's a fair bit there. Basically you want all the kamut flakes covered. Great idea for snacks for kids, a healthy alternative to your chocolate crackles, as well as for us bigger kids. So again, we're making sure, if you come in and have a look at this, all of our kamut is covered nicely. What's going to happen here is we're going to put all of this into our pans here and then stick that in the fridge. The chocolate of this is going to set like a normal chocolate cracker would, and it's going to leave us with a beautiful chocolate cracker. So we just turn off that, set that to the side, for our pan and our tablespoon, and just start putting chocolate crackle mix in. So you can pile it up as much as you like. Make sure you get some of the bottom which has the liquid in it, because you want some of that to sit to the bottom of the chocolate crackle, which is going to give you that stability. Okay, so this is the finished product. We have our 12 raw chocolate crackles made from our raw chocolate, which is again just quickly the cacao powder, the kamut, the cacao fat, coconut fat and agave syrup, all blended together, and there's a finished product. The only thing you have to do now is chuck these into the fridge and let them set till they're nice and solid like a typical chocolate crackle, and clean up. It's the best way I know how. Nick in the bowl. Thanks very much for joining us at Rejuvenate Health and Fitness Test Kitchen. We'll see you next time for another fantastic recipe. Till then. Go! 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 You're playing.
No.